Welcome back. It's another art of mixing breakdown episode. Let's get straight into it. It was an alright day. Now it's changing a little bit. I think apparently it's Melbourne for you, so it's So we like to do. I talked about the weather. We like to talk about the weather. It's a really good conversation starter. I would just like to say that doing a lot better than yesterday. Yesterday was an absolutely horrific day. It felt like absolute garbage. But now we're gonna have protein shake, good breakfast, juices, coconut water, all assortments of fruit. We're ready to go. Alright, here we go. That's me. I am experimenting with some camera angles as well, trying to see which is the optimum camera angle. All right, one more thing. You get my trusty little imaging, and we're good to go. This clip I'm gonna show you, I reckon you can probably do this a few times in your mix. I wouldn't do it more than that, because if you do it more than, I would say, like 3 times, it gets annoying. I think the first time you do it, it's like, oh, what are you doing? It's a bit sort of confronting. It's something that works and doesn't work. The second time you do it, people are sort of familiar with it, and the third time you do it, people are like, okay, that's annoying. It's one thing to build and then go into a drop that's of a similar style. But when you go from something like this, when it's kind of a very dark tone, and then you go completely the next field over, it, yeah, let's have a look. I accidentally pressed the button and went spaz. Spaz till you. We don't use that button anymore. Oh no, it didn't. My bad. I forgot that I didn't edit there. So we can quickly cut over to the next one. Now, you see what I mean, right? So we are sort of building from a very darker sort of piece. And we're using the pitch functionality. Now the pitch functionality is really cool. What we're doing here is we're tapping twice the tempo of the piece, and one hand is controlling the amount that we're increasing the effect by, and the other one is maintaining the tempo that we want. So how quickly we want it to come in and out, in and out, in and out. So we're doing those together. And what you can do is something like this. So you're musically going with the piece. Now, if you notice that, if you pay very, very close attention, we are doing this, but then we quickly cut in the next song as well. So we are building, using the effect. We have the desired amount of the effect that we want. So the great thing about using this functionality and being able to adjust the amount of the effect you want is you can have a bit of fun with it, and then get the amount that you want, then leave it there, and then you have one hand free to bring in the next piece or bring the fader up and do what you need to do. And that's what we're doing here. So we found the amount that we want, we're bringing in the fader, and then we can continue adjusting if we need to. Cool. So we build it in. We're increasing now the pitch, going up, giving it sort of creating that custom sort of riser. And as we do that, the song builds up, we do that, we let it go, song naturally build it originally has. It has that vocal moment, and then we cut into the next one. What I've done here is allow a bit of a pause, so to make it even more dramatized. So the vocal from the one that's playing comes in, we cut, there's a slight pause. So like we talked about that in the previous breakdown episode, we use the pause to our advantage. We do a pause on purpose, and that's what we're doing here. We allow a very deliberate pause, and then we go into the next one. So this is why I'm saying that these type of transitions are quite aggressive. So you want to be careful about doing too much. The main reason behind that is you don't want to have this really enormous build that goes on for 30 seconds, a minute, and you're creating all this tension and all that, and then you sort of give this lackluster sort of connection, and then the drop, the chorus, whatever it is sort of like and that's not good. That pisses people off, and it pisses me off. You want that, especially if you're playing a massive festival. It ain't just about huge drops, but it's about creating the appropriate call and the appropriate answer. You can have the textures and everything else, but you really need to be careful with if you have those long sort of build-ins and you really are creating that drama, you're creating that tension, you're increasing the expectation, and you really have to then deliver. So when you are doing something like this, that's why I'm saying that you can do it a couple times as a bit of fun. There is an element of, I wouldn't say that it's, what's the word? No, I wouldn't say it's satire. I wouldn't say it's I did it on purpose just to have, a bit of a laugh. I wouldn't say that. Even though the song is a bit of sort of giddishy, it has that sort of very happy, danceable sort of airy sort of summer feel to it. But it's a heavy contrast, so it almost doesn't work. I think it just works, but you almost have that feeling when it switches over. It's like, ugh, what the hell was that? It's good in the way that it draws your attention, okay? But it's then the negative side of it is that you could lose the mix. So you have to be very, very careful when approaching something like this. And for me, the reason I wanted to have such a sharp transition, the main reason was because I wanted it to be noticeable that we're transitioning into a different scene now, transitioning into a different texture of the mix. So we're finishing up with the lower sort of tones that are happening in the first part of this clip, and we're going into more of the house, funk type stuff. Now, in the original mix, obviously that section goes on for a little bit longer. So, but you can see how we've moved quickly from that part into now a little more sort of old school. That's a cool. Now that's a very sort of classic sort of sort of sound, but that was back in the day. You had that sort of vinyl break and a bit of sort of that crush, and then sort of mimics that sound a little bit, which I love. So that's what we're doing now. We're adding sort of as that sort of vinyl break comes out. I know that it's going to detune it, and then we add that crush in for that detune. Cool. So now you see we're just playing with the mix, right? We're having a bit of fun with it. We're adding in those sort of effects that we like. It can be anything that you like. Whatever effects that you've found to be your sort of go-to, or you want to try something new. This is the moment where you can try that effect or those type of effects. You can really experiment and have some fun with it now. This is your moment where you can be creative with what you do. So you notice how very different tones. So from the beginning until, and then we move on, very different. Cool. Now, you notice how we've gone from sort of that sort of lower, sort of darker tone to a very sort of bright tone, and now we're sort of going in between. So we have one, then the other, then we'll sort of in between that. We'll sort of have this sort of bright, but a bit of a darker tone to it. Okay? So we've added in some effects, have a bit of fun with it. Again, I'm emphasizing you're doing it with the mix. So and you can add doubles, you can add effects, you can add a bit of phaser, with the song, not just you're doing it with the beat, okay? Or you can do it off the beat, yeah. But you want to do it creatively with the music. Cool. That's where that phaser comes in. So, one approach is, the texture of the music is sort of arcing back to that sort of the disco, the 80s, the type of effects that we used then. And you want to sort of approach sometimes the effects that you use with the type of music the music is inspired by. So if there are some of those sort of 80s elements done, do some effects that would complement that, or play some effects that were used quite a lot in that type of music, and that can sort of show you, okay, try the phaser with the reverb, or the delay with the phaser. Trying these type of ideas will complement it well, because there's a reason why those the flanger, the phaser, the delays, the reverbs, and the way that we use, there's a reason for that type of music that worked really well for that type of music. Cool. Now, a little sort of trickier that you can do is with the channel fader. You can do a sort of, a bit of, obviously, the sort of trans effect that we've talked about. So you can create a bit of that flutter. Cool. Now, how would you sort of build up that sort of flexibility to do something like that? I have that from years of playing guitar, and I've also developed that from manually adjusting the tempo of the songs. The setting that I have on the decks allows me to really finesse manual tempo so that I can really get it where I want it to be, and that you really need a fine sort of touch to make sure you can get it on, especially when you can get it on. Especially when you are really aggressively changing the tempo. So you're going from like 130 to 80 or 90. You really need to practice being very fine in adjusting the tempo with that, and that will help you really develop that dexterity to move quickly with the fader. You become much more natural at using it. So with that in mind, that's one approach you can take to really build up that sort of flexibility in your hands to be able to move the fader quickly. It's a very standard technique used in more traditional sort of vinyl mixing, scratching, which I should say, vinyl scratching, beat scratching, that kind of stuff. Very, very common to use, but they will use the master fader down the bottom, and you can still apply that to your channel fader. The only difference is they'll have one song playing on the left and then the right, and they can switch quickly between the two. You can also practice it like that to develop that dexterity. So if you want to approach mixing from that perspective and doing that scratching and stuff like that, that's really cool. I've been getting into that slowly as well, wanting to incorporate segments of that into my mixing more and more. And it's not the easiest thing to get the hang of. It takes time to really get the transitions in that scenario to be very smooth when you're scratching and wanting to switch between the next. It takes time. It takes time. Just like everything else I mentioned takes time. And there are things that I'm also pushing towards and wanting to get better in, and that's one area that I've been looking into more and more. The great thing about the Pioneer decks, they really do allow you to do that. You can really change the sensitivity of the tone, so you can really dig in, which is really cool. They're not as flexible as traditional sort of turntables, but they do a pretty good job, and it's a good way to develop the fundamentals of that. There is a video online about I think it's the 14 or the 15 different levels of vinyl scratching, which you should definitely check out. If I remember, I'll put it in the description. Fantastic video, and it really shows the development of going from sort of level 1 to etc. And the key there, which I found really great, was taking the one aspect and putting it with another, and not just as you go to the next sort of stage, you're not just forgetting the fundamental, you're applying that and you're adding on top of that and moving to the next one and the next one. So great video to check out, and something to think about if you want to get into that space more of really switching quickly between applying more of the sort of scratching into your mix. Cool. And you notice here, we are sort of having some of those elements of those pioneers who really push forward the vinyl scratching stuff. You can see some of those elements when I mix, from wanting to make sure that I have the flexibility to adjust the pitch, like here, be able to turn, and manipulate the decks. And here, but the core thing that's happening here is we're just vibing with the music, and that's something you can notice from very experienced mixers, that at one point you just become really into the mix, almost like when you get wired into the computer and you just get in the zone. It's that sort of vibe. So we're sort of in that sort of vibe now, and you're really going with the flow and just having a good time. you notice how we're doing it musically, so we're not doing it just like, one, okay, now, and another one, another one, another one, another one. It'll be too much. So we go, two, 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 now, two, 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 two. Okay, now add something now. Two, three, two. Okay, now add something. Two, two. Okay, add something. Okay, two, two, and pause. 1, 2, 3, and add something. 1, 2, 3, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and so we're going with the music, and okay, let's add something here. Okay, now wait, cool. Go with it, let's add something here. And by that, you're adding, just pulling in those different textures. And every couple minutes, you're drawing back the attention, you're keeping people engaged, you're helping them mix continue, especially when you're progressing through, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. These are some things you can do to keep things interesting. Cool. So what you notice here is as we're sort of going, I am thinking going forward to the next song. Okay, cool. I'm not happy with I know the song that I've selected. I want a different point, but I haven't pre-saved that cue point, and that's what we're doing now. We're searching through, finding the point that I want. Adjusting the tempo. Being able to, I wouldn't say it's multitasking. I would say it's just you become relaxed, and we've mentioned that in, I can't remember which one it was, but we've mentioned this aspect of, when you become confident in one particular instrument, say, the guitar, you're not really focused too much on what one hand is doing. When you start off, you're like, how the hell I got these two things gonna be going? How are you gonna do that? You focus on this and you focus on this, but eventually you just allow the one hand to do its thing, and you trust that, and you can focus just on you're playing, hand is helping you, bend the strings, and that's my approach here. So I'm not too focused on, I'm gonna add this one, and we're gonna add that one, and we're gonna do this. I feel confident about the effects, and I'm just having fun with it. I don't think about it too much. My focus is on enjoying it, and let's bring in this next song. So if I have to choose what I'm focused on bringing in this next song, getting the tempo ready, making sure I found the cue point that I want, and that kind of stuff. Over me trying to say, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, not like that. We're just having fun and we're enjoying adding in effects while bringing in the next song. And here I'm thinking, okay, perhaps I should add something else, but I'm liking what the effect is doing here, and I think it's gonna be enough. It's already going to be its own sort of moment. And then my rationale is sort of, it's very sort of open, this moment, it's I'm brave, and I'm imagining you're at some mountaintop and you're screaming out, I'm brave, into some canyon or something like that, and you want to create this big sort of echo and space around it, that you're brave, and that's my rationale. Okay, so one idea, if you want to quickly switch off one of the effects, is using that sort of flutter effect, the trans effect. Bring it in, and you can cut the effect, and it's not noticeable. So if you feel like something's going too much, or you have a point where you want to cut something out, you can use another effect to complement it, and then as the effect's going, you can cut out the effects. So we have this sort of shimmer, we have this space that we've created. Now we want to cut most of it out. We add a bit of the flutter, the trans effect, and then we stop, and it goes back to where it was. We add that beautiful sort of, tail with the reverb. Notice how we wait for that switch section to come on, because we use that in the just before when we transition. So we waited for that vocal line to come in switch, and we switched over to the next song. And now we continue, wait for that switch to come in. It builds in, we add the tail. The only thing I would have preferred here was that it would be cool if I was able to cut it out for just a second, allow the switch to be clean, and then bring in the rest of the reverb. So that's something you can try. That does add another level of complexity, because you have to really add things on very, very quick. So you have to let go, let the effect come in, and just before the vocal line finishes, it's very, very, very short. So it'll take a lot, some practice. You can catch the ending, bring in all that reverb and effect on max, hold on to that tail, and bring it through. So that's something that you can try. I would probably be looking at wanting to, if I did the sort of the mix again, which I never do, but if a parallel universe I did, then that's probably what would be something I would be looking into, wanting to make even sort of sharper in like sort of version 2.0. Having that sort of clear sort of vocal sort of switch come in, add the tail, add the effect right at the end, and then tail it out. And then we move into the next section. So some key ideas here. Remember that you can create little pockets of music, little sort of mini mashups of different genres. And that's what we've done here. You don't have to be as sort of forceful as I am in this example, where you have, some very darker sort of tone coming in and then a very bright one, because sometimes it might not work in your favor. In this case, I was confident that it could work, because then after that one, we're bringing in a song that sort of meets it halfway. So we give a call, we really give a great switch, and then we bring in another song that meets it halfway to sort of balance things out again. Would I do this a few more times? Maybe, if it's like a short sort of build. If it's like a short little cut and then a switch and then bring in something else and then quickly bring in something else. This type of effect works a lot better when you are sort of doing those very quick sort of vinyl scratches and transitions. And you can really be much more flexible in switching from one to another, to another, to another. And then you can really hone in when you're going from one genre to the next. When you're doing a much more longer sort of interpretation of that technique, then you have to be a little more balanced in the songs in the songs that you choose. But I would say that looking into more so those skills in the vinyl scratching, looking into those DJs that are more versed in sort of that space is really, really good. And you can draw some inspiration, some fundamental ideas from that, like using the fader very quickly to create a bit of that sort of flutter effect. And then also looking at some of the effects that they don't use too many effects, not heavy so much on effects, but just understanding how to really relax your hands a little bit and be a little more softer in the amount of attention you put into the knobs and stuff like that. That will really help, so you can have a little bit of a smoother sort of playing style on your decks. Just like, for example, when you're driving the car, or you're a tennis player or something like that. You don't want to hold the racket like super tight, and you don't want to drive like like this. You want to just relax your hands. It's the same thing with playing guitar. When you're first starting out, it's very much you know and then what the key is just to relax. You don't have to put so much tension on the strings. You don't have to always have your blood dripping down your hands from the guitar. You can relax. You don't have to put as much pressure onto the guitar to get the desired effect that you want. So the same thing here. And it just comes down to just practice, practice, practice. Awesome. So thank you so much for watching, as always. Thank you so much for being part of this new series and breakdowns. Really appreciate it. I hope you got something valuable out of this, and let me know if you go check out some of those videos. I really am inspired by some of the techniques that are applied in the vinyl scratching. So I think it's really cool. Something to definitely look into, and continue your development as a mixer, as a performer, and as a person who wants to sort of master the skills. Very valuable. Okay, I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.